Hi there, friends. I'm Vasco. I'm part of the team behind the first global Scrum Master Summit. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from all over the globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit and the numeral 21. That's bit.ly/SMSUMMIT21. We have 7 amazing keynotes or more, as we are still organizing the conference as I record this, and 8 tracks that feature people like you and thought leaders sharing their insights and knowledge to help you become an awesome Scrum Master. So once again, check it out at bit.ly/SM Summit 21. That's all lowercase, all one word, SM Summit and the numeral 21. I'll see you on the virtual conference floor. All right, now on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Rob Cooper. Hi, Rob. Welcome back.
Hi there. Thanks again. Good to be here.
So, Rob, on Tuesdays we talk teams, but before we dive into that, share with us what was potentially the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master.
I found this was a really interesting what influenced me as a Scrum Master, and the funny answer is probably the Bible, and that might seem a bit of a strange answer, but the reason for that is it's because it's a book about human behavior and change, and as a Scrum Master, we are about human behavior and change in a very kind of complex system, and that's what I see in the Bible, I think. I guess just to sort of sneak another book in there would be The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Douglas Adams, real classic. Loved that book from when I was a kid, but actually, I think what it taught me was around a sort of the power of allegory and metaphor. Especially within that book, you see the characters go on a particular journey of discovery. And I think that's something that played into my career as a Scrum Master, understanding story.
So how do you apply these days allegory and metaphor in your role as a Agile coach and Scrum Master?
When you're creating narrative about a strategic direction, now this depends on what sort of Scrum Master role you have, your kind of the context and situation. But often, say for example, in a retrospective, okay, and so you're working with a team and you have the particular output of a retrospective. Great. So okay, well, there might be sort of very specific technical actions that maybe come out of a retrospective. But what often will come out of a retrospective is a kind of a bigger picture. And to create that into a narrative, into a story, and even explaining that through metaphor, whether you kind of, pull something out of a movie, make some Star Wars quote, make some, whatever it might be, then that can sort of somehow crystallize a direction for the team. And so that's something that I found kind of quite useful for helping the team see a longer term goal that they might want to work towards.
Absolutely. Great point indeed. And crystallizing the direction for a team is something that Scrum Masters have to definitely help with, right? Because sometimes the team is unable to, for whatever reason, reflect on their own direction. And we need to bring that image of where we are going so that we may develop in that direction to the team. Absolutely. And talking about teams, of course, we're here. Today's Tuesday. We're talking about teams that self-destruct. So share with us a story of a team. Tell us a little bit about their context, but then walk us through how that particular behavior or anti-pattern developed over time that ultimately led to problems.
Yeah, okay. So I think this is always a really painful one to talk about. I think there's probably a lot of pain in both of these, but that's just the life of a Scrum Master. But actually, I had it easy. So in comparison with the poor old team, the story I want to talk about today is this was during my career as working for a particular consultant. So I was sort of going in there as a as a sort of a contractor type scenario into a particular organization. And I suppose what I saw when I went in there was actually I was almost at the kind of the tail end. I kind of came in seeing the sort of the smoking rubble of a team. That's kind of how I would describe it. And so I suppose I didn't witness the first sort of stages of the destruction of the team, but I was there at the tail end. And the kind of the context of that was that the whole organization was still fundamentally quite how should we say, had quite sort of old style, kind of orange yellow, style kind of principles within the organization. Pretty command and control, pretty sort of top down. They'd been through a series of restructures and redundancies, and they'd got rid of a whole bunch of people that they really shouldn't have done. So they'd a particular legacy application, the people who had written it had all been made redundant. So there was basically nobody who knew the code base. So this poor team were trying to, and this was a huge application, million line code kind of plus thing, real kind of behemoth. And they were trying to struggle with it, trying to get their heads around it, trying to do something with it. And the continuing management culture just pulled things down even further. So I kind of arrived full of energy going, okay, guys, what should we do? And I'm like, and quite quickly, the antenna were like, okay, there's not just one thing wrong here. There are many things wrong here.
How did that, I imagine you arriving, having the first few meetings with the team and kind of getting that insight, oh my God, there's quite a lot going on here. What did you do then?
For a period of time, I was quite confused because I suppose I kept kind of seeing new aspects. I'm thinking, well, okay, so my first response was to try and respond to act tactically. Okay, well, let's try and fix this symptom. Okay, let's try and deal with that thing that I see over there. And there's some value in that because there are immediate things that need to be done. But let me sort of okay. As you can probably imagine, the morale of the team was at rock bottom. The focus of the team in terms of strategically what's their vision from the product owner was very, very, very cloudy. It was very kind of knee-jerk, well, we want to do this line, we want to add this in, we want to fix that issue. There was not really kind of a cohesion around it. So there was very little sense of team. So they hadn't really been formed into a team. So they didn't really have that kind of camaraderie and sense of we are a team working on a particular valuable goal within our sprints. And then also the team weren't really allowed to become a team. And also the manager was very much keeping all the control. So there was no autonomy. There was no purpose. There was very little ability to develop mastery. So put all those things together. So
the perfect conditions for destroying motivation.
Yes, yeah, from sort of the Dan Pink kind of autonomy, master, purpose. So I tried to respond a little bit tactically, but then I suppose I started to see so many things. Then I went through a period of confusion because I'm thinking, well, what on earth do I do as a sort of an outsider? I'm not, and that was an additional complication because I'm how much skin do I have in the game? And that was kind of a tricky one. But I had to spend some time trying to make sense of the landscape and trying to understand what I could actually do and what actually was way beyond my ability to influence. So that was the next step, because there's some things that, I was never, ever going to fix in a million years by myself within a kind of a meaningful time frame. So it was a case of kind of picking my battles. The one thing which was very kind of tricky, because again, I was hired by the particular manager who was very, very controlling. So that was a very difficult situation for me to work within. So I was trying to balance not getting fired because, so I was thinking, right. So already there's an anti-pattern in myself. I am not feeling free to speak fully and frankly because I'm fearful of getting fired and my sort of loyalty to my parent company. So straight away, you've got dysfunction in the system.
So if you had a time machine and you had the ability to go back and kind of relive that situation from the start again, like what would you have done differently knowing what you know today?
Yeah, so I think what I would ideally have done was the more kind of classic coach intervention sort of thinking. So what I mean by that is when I started, I would be very, very clear about who was sponsoring me in that organization. Now, normally it was the manager, and I would have spent more time trying to understand not tactically what he wanted, but what was he trying to achieve by bringing somebody in? What were the particular outcomes that he was after? Now, whilst it would be interesting to see what he would have come up with, it would be important to look at those, because then that gives you an opportunity to have a conversation, or at least to know, right, well, this is the effective scope of what I can do here. And you can start to put something, you can start to develop other opportunities with your manager and start to hopefully open their eyes to other things that may be possible. But at very least, I would try and clarify and help him look for the strategic value that I could bring, rather than just kind of, oh well, I'm somebody who can just run the stand-ups and do sort of more kind of admin Scrum type things. So that's, in retrospect, that's what I think I should have spent more time doing. Again, how effective that would be is anybody's guess.
Yeah. In that situation, like also one of the options I would consider as a Scrum Master is literally just quit. Because sometimes the problems that we are trying, or let's put it this way, the problems that we as Scrum Masters can work on are not the problems that the teams need to solve. And if that's the case, of course, we can be there and be kind of a plaster on a deep wound, right? Just a surface cover to not let a lot of dust come in, but the wound is going to fester sooner or later. I don't know how the story of this particular team ended for you, Rob, but I've been in situations like that where the team just ends up disappearing because people leave on their own. They find other work to do, and then they just move on, whether inside or outside the organization. So I think that we need to also be honest with ourselves about what we can do, and also what we are proud and willing to do in that particular context. That would be also one suggestion from my side.
I think it's good suggestions. I think sometimes, depending on how we approach our work engagements, it might be that we have a permanent position, it might be that we are a truly freelance contractor, it might be that we're working as part of a consultancy, and each one of those gives a different sort of color to the way that you can engage with your clients and the teams. So, and I think we need to be mindful of that and aware that there will be different options and different loyalties that you're going to experience. It's the same way when you're dealing with an outsourced team who are not, say, working for the parent, or they're working for the parent company, but their loyalties may be a little bit mixed because they're trying to sort of serve two bosses, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to be mindful of that. I think that's a great reminder for us as Scrum Masters. Rob, thank you very much for sharing that story.
Welcome.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.